Morning, I'm Adam Sexton. Our first guest this morning is likely the only New Hampshire candidate for office who has gained international recognition through the Granite State debates. That's what happened for Lily Tong Williams in 2024. She's running for Congress again in 2026, and she's our guest this morning on Close Up. Lily, thanks for being here.
Great to be back. Well, time went by very quick since last November.
Exactly. And so, yeah, the last time you were in this building, you were taking a rhetorical flamethrower to Maggie Goodlander. A lot of attention and notoriety. That moment went viral around the globe, really. What happened in the wake of that debate for your campaign?
Well, it's amazing that, I got the RFK endorsement, and the video even went to China, translated into Chinese language. My family, friends even saw it, and the money coming, but it was just too late. It was like 2 days before election or something, so I did not have time to go get the TV ads to get my message out. So most people did not watch the debate, so they did not know that how that went. So I'm hoping that people start to discover me again.
Yeah, you got this approach, from there of, the surge of money, the surge of attention. You ended up making the race maybe a little closer than people thought it would be. I think you lost by about 5 to 6%. Can you run the same kind of race this time around and win?
Well, I have to focus on fundraising and national media interviews, and I was pretty much just local in New Hampshire last year. And of course, after primary, I did not have much money left, and I could not buy TV ads, do like a live stream on YouTube, and nothing. And she refused to debate me until Halloween night. So I was ready to debate for 1 month, but she couldn't. Well, she declined, so I'm hoping that, she will debate me this time. I challenge already her to have 10 town halls with me after the primary,
Your notoriety and your profile is raised with each campaign here. This is your third one. I think you have something like 250,000 followers now on X. That's a tremendous audience, probably #1 in New Hampshire politics if we're looking at that digital platform. Why not seek an even bigger platform by running for U.S. Senate this time around?
Well, I'm a grassroots candidate. I don't think that I will have a big money backing me. I was not recruited to run anyway. I just decided that I'm answering my calling, and I need to get my messages out. I need to really, truly serve the people of New Hampshire. I want to do that to give back to the country I love and the people who welcome me in New Hampshire. And the people just love me everywhere I go. They say, "Are you going to run again?" I run into people in Walmart, Home Depot, and, like a Costco Market Basket. People say, "I voted for you. I voted for you." I always say thank you. And they all want to encourage me to run again. So I feel like it's my obligation as somebody who loves this country and came here with nothing. I want to give back and to the community, to the people.
Yeah, building on your massive following on X, you've become kind of a big defender of Elon Musk and also Tesla vehicles. I know you posted the videos inside the Tesla and everything. Is that part of your digital engagement strategy? Why bring Tesla into this so much in the campaign?
Well, actually, my son owned Tesla for 5 years, so he's been talking to us. You need to buy one. It's a cool car. It's a great car. I said, well, we don't need an EV, and we're fine. But I was looking for a car. I had like Suburban for 20 years almost now. And then they start to attack Doge, and because he was leading the Doge, even though I think his Doge is a tremendous and great work to expose the fraud, waste, and corruption in our government. I mean, I was very impressed with their work. So when they all organized to attack Tesla, attack Musk, call him Hitler, and want to burn Tesla cars and want to shut down the business, dealership all over the country, I just feel like those people are hypocrites. There are lots of Democrats who own Teslas, right? And they were for climate change. All of a sudden, they're not for climate change anymore. They're not for EV mandates anymore. They're going to buy gas and diesel cars and trade in Tesla just because of his politics. Elon was Democrat for so many years. Now he's a patriot. He wants to cut the government and the waste and fraud and make the government efficient. What's wrong with that? We have more money in our causes for our own people. So I just don't get it. I just feel frustrated that day. I feel like those people are radical leftists, and they change their narratives based on politics, because if you don't comply, we're going to make you quiet. We're going to make you lose your business, lose your jobs, maybe get your car damaged. It's just un-American.
What is one cut that was made by Doge that you want to see ratified and put into the budget by Congress?
Well, I think that first of all, we don't want to give illegals any benefits, Social Security and the Medicare and the Medicaid. Also, USAID, I have followed the Doge on their website, doge.gov, carefully see all the receipts. I was just shocked actually how deep our government's corruption is. The money went to slush fund and funded into NGOs, and the politicians, family members serve on those NGO boards, and then back to the donations and to politicians. That's just like not money well spent, but so much money, and how come nobody exposed those? I was just totally, at one point I was very depressed to say our people are suffering. We need more money to serve the people truly in need. We need to protect the most vulnerable, like the senior citizens and children. No money for veterans, homeless, but lots of money to go to NGOs. And how come those ones are not codified? I don't know. There's so much. I like to say what's happening, but people don't shoot the messengers. Blame your government, it's corrupt. It misuse your taxpayers' money. So we don't have money to do lots of things, and we're paying for inflation, $36 trillion debt. How come Maggie does never talk about debt? She only talk about, they're cutting this. Well, if your family is broke, if you don't focus on cutting spending, where's money going to come from? Are we not going to willing to do sacrifices for our children's future, to mortgage them already? Our kids are going to pay for that. Our grandchildren are going to pay for that. So we need to make sacrifices, all of us, to say, in order for my children to have a future in this country, I like to say cutting. I like to get rid of waste, fraud, and corruption. And there's some agencies need to look at. Everything's on the table. But she does not talk about the debt. She does not talk about the fraud. She does never mention about USAID. She should look at names who are on the board of the NGOs and getting billions of dollars benefits and pays. And some are her friends. She should expose them.
You mentioned inflation. Cost of living was a huge issue for voters in November of 2024. Now, with these tariffs, we see costs going up again. Are you on board with higher taxes on trade?
I'm normally not for that at all. I think President Trump is used that as a tool for renegotiations. I truly believe that as a negotiating tool, he's bringing countries who do not have reciprocal tariffs with us to come to the table to renegotiate for America. American workers, manufacturing jobs have been shipping overseas for years and years. Mostly went to my native country, People's Republic of China, and they cheat. They don't have IP protection. They don't have a level playing field. And on the expenses, American economy and manufacturing jobs, and basically it's not good for our country. So I'm supporting that he negotiate hard and for America, and also bring China to the table. Because if you continue this path, play hardcore, China's economy is very weak right now, and they will collapse. We have more cards because they export 5 times more than we sell to China.
The core of your being is anti-communist, anti-central planning. When the president says regarding trade, and this is a quote from Time magazine, quote, "We set the price. I meet with the companies and then I set a fair price, what I consider to be a fair price, and then they can pay it or they don't have to pay it. That is, if they cut a deal." Does that level of government control of the economy raise any red flags for you at all?
Well, I have not heard him saying that. I don't read lots of those mainstream medias. I go the source directly.
That's a quote, though. He said that.
If he did say that, you know what I have learned over the years? Do not listen to what Trump said. Watch what he does. Sometimes he will use that rhetoric to get the deal he wants, right? Look at what he said about Xi Jinping, about North Korean leader. He wants to negotiate. So watch what he does and his policies, and he's going to put American first. And so give him some time. I think I just pay attention not what he said anymore, because he said lots of things.
Right. On immigration, should the government be able to deport whoever it wants to, who's here illegally, without some due process?
Well, I think they're focused on deport all the illegal criminals. That's what the people voted for last November. And I think they should follow the process. But remember, like 11 million people come here legally under Biden. They did not go through the due process to come here, and they flooded in. And so we have to look at, hey, what do we focus on? They are focused on criminals. And that's one of the biggest achievements he has in the past 100 days. Border illegal crossing is down 94%. And our southern border, northern border are more secure, thanks to the new administration. And also that the Democrats only talk about, like Maggie too, she even tried to offer advice for the illegals and how to deal with ICE on her website. Like, how come you don't focus on the victims and people who are raped and killed by illegal immigrants? And she only talked about we needed to talk to them how to deal with ICE. And look at her voting record. She voted to actually keep men in women's sports and against the SAFE Act. Like only the legal American citizens can vote in federal election. She voted against that, but she doesn't talk about it.
Lily Tang Williams, it's always fun talking to you, and I'm sure you'll be back here again a few more times before we really kick into the election season next year. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. We're going to have exciting campaign, and I just wanted people to hear my message. I don't have big money behind me, so I'm challenging Maggie right now. Please go to town hall and debate me. Otherwise, you're not truly for democracy.
All right, Lily Tang Williams, thanks for joining us on Close Up, and we'll be right back with Dr. Tom Sherman.